afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our virtual info sessions entitled Coping with Social Distance, Omnichannel Marketing Solutions, and the New Normal. Just like to check, Chris, Ritesh, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah,
Yes, we can.
all clear.
All good, Albert.
Okay, that's great. So welcome again to our audience. By the way, I'm Albert from the marketing team of Kaisa Consulting. Thank you for joining us today as we understand how the current pandemic has impacted on the customer journey and identify your role as marketers given the business situation that we face. This will allow us to discover how to engage with our customers better in the new normal through omni-channel solutions. But before that, let me introduce you our company, Kaisa, and what we do. Kaisa, next slide, please. Kaisa is a recognized business solution provider in the Philippines and the only IT consulting company to hold 3 ISO certifications. This signifies our credibility to implement company-wide systems and support global operations to our clients through our 160 professionals and growing. Also, we are a recognized partner of globally renowned business solutions such as Resultix, which is an omni-channel marketing automation platform. Next slide, please. So for us to have an insightful session for today, we advise everyone, our audience, to place your mic on mute and also disable your video. This webinar, by the way, is being recorded. So while the presentation is ongoing, you may raise any questions via the Q&A or chat box. Our speakers will respond to them during our Q&A portion. Now, for our speakers, we do have Ritesh Amin, Vandana Prabhakar, and Chris Mendoza. Ritesh currently leads the pre-sales and partner ecosystem as the Strategy and Partner Enablement Director for Resultix. He has 15 years extensive experience in enterprise solutions and marketing cloud technology. We also have Vandana, who is the head of pre-sales and training academy for Resultix. Her 23 years of experience involve developing synergies and services, especially in software development and testing, to content development and copywriting, as well as sales support and pre-sales. Lastly, we have Chris, who has 20 years of experience driving business growth for cross industries in the digital marketing space. Her role as pre-sales consultant in Resultix involves influencing companies to grow big, especially in Southeast Asia, through marketing transformation. So yours truly will be the moderator of today's session. So now, let me turn you over to Ritesh, Vandana, and Chris.
Hey, thanks, Albert, for the introduction. First of all, thank you all for attending the webinar. So today we are going to have this following agenda, which is there on the slide. So I'll be covering some of the topics while I'll be helped by Chris and Albert in the due course when we complete the agenda. So again, if you have any questions, please drop those questions. We'll be very happy to answer those questions. Clear, right? My voice? Yeah. So
Yes,
the first topic is right, mostly on the COVID-19's impact on the customer journey, right? First of all, I want to thank all of the attendees. Stay safe and healthy during this time. Go to the next slide. Yeah, just move on. Yeah, so first of all, right, if you look at the COVID-19 and its impact on the marketing, right, so there are three main processes where it's a huge impact currently. The first is your supply chain and the other operational processes, which we're going to cover in the following slides, and the customer journey and the customer behavior and the preferences. The biggest, I would say, impact today is the customer journey, you know, the pre-journey before the COVID and what's the journey during the COVID and the post-COVID. So we'll be discussing those things today briefly. So as with any crisis, right, that those who have gained and those who suffer losses as well. So some industries such as food, pharma and general merchandise, they have thrived. Whereas some companies among these, the challenge for them is to continue delivering consistent customer experience across all touch points. At the same time, also give them same excellent level of service. But not to mention, the communication needs to be constant and timely, whether they are promos, updates, or response to an inquiry. On the other hand, some industries like a luxury and the non-essential goods are facing tough times, you know, and they have to think about increasing demand. And for majority of them, the biggest concern today is how they can retain the customers. So that leaves us to the next slide where we talk about the touch point for today's customers. So if you look at the entire chart over there are different touch points today in the market. You know, on the left-hand side, if you see, these are the inbound challenges. The customer is giving you a lot of content. The customer is giving you a lot of information about their preferences. So and on the right-hand channel, if you see, there are more to the channels where we reach out to the customers. So these are some of the outbound challenges. So again, digital touchpoint refers to engagements with your brand online, which will include your website, your ads, your search engine results, social media, and more. As more and more people turn to the computers and the phones to find information, products, and services, understanding the full array of digital touchpoints is more important than ever today. So brands that also operate brick and mortar stores, integrating digital experiences with on-site touchpoints is also very essential for them. So as you consider the many ways your customer interact with your brand, you can also start building out the customer journey, finding the right content on experience to deliver on the right channel at the right time to the right person. Again, all relations today, right, have an emotional component, and that holds true for the connection between people and the brands. So your business relationships with your customers is built over time, nourished by experiences along many online and physical touchpoints in the journeys, grounded in expectations and confirmed through repeated interactions. A crisis like coronavirus pandemic, right, puts both the strengths and weaknesses in your relationship under a spotlight. So during lockdown, people are forced to be physically separated from the friends, the extended family, the workplace, and the favorite place, and requiring organization to adapt to a digital or a remote way of doing business, and is dramatically altering people's daily experiences. So, as a business leader, how do you help people thrive when they are stressed, fearful, and longing for an authentic human connection? Again, your most important stakeholder right now is a human being who is craving comfort and connection and suddenly needs a new customer experience. So your first question, therefore, shouldn't be, how can I grab market share? Or how do I boost my top line? How do I interact during my how do I boost my top line during this economic crisis? So your most pressing question should be, how do I support my customers right now in a meaningful, human, and a relevant way? And that is where all these different touch point of today's customers play a very important role. So if you look at the recent new touch points which have come out in the market, right? So even before the crisis, research shows that consumers felt companies had lost touch with the human element of customer experience, and consumers still prefer to interact with a human versus an automated machine. And now people might be struggling to navigate the new normal and need a human touch even more. For instance, making purchasing choices for essential items without being able to try out or see products in person could be difficult for some. The same is true for getting advice online or solving problems. For example, in a telehealth without direct human contact. So a lot of doctors, a lot of hospitals have started telecommunications now. And a result, what customers care about most right now might be changing. So brands with the best price, the coolest product, or most memorable marketing campaign might not have an advantage compared to those that exhibit emotional connect and communicate with care, honesty, and empathy, and build trust as a result. So in times of crisis, people want to be seen and understood, and they are extremely sensitive to tone and motive. So are you reaching out to them or to sell them something? So keeping in mind the impact of the actions you take today will probably outlast the crisis and define the loyalty people have to your brand and your products. So the messages you put out in the marketplace must be grounded in the actual experiences and need of your customers. And those messages must be matched by a credible ability to deliver on time to them. If you can, then you earn customers' trust in this way. Will build a connection today as in the future. No? So you have to find ways of getting more digital. And if you look at the different digital channels which are coming out today, like an online video channel or a voice channel. So until now, you have probably prioritized efficiency. You're trying to transition human interactions where possible to digital or automated ones. So the irony is that the shift is that now, in the time of COVID, it's no longer good enough to just make those experiences simple and efficient. You must be more human across those virtual channels too, because people can't get that touch in other ways. For example, a customer who contacts a call center might be delighted to have the option of a video call with a real person who also works from home and is willing to take as much time as needed to address the question. So the video creates a human connection, and the entire customer experience shows that the company cares for you. Next slide. So again, if you go to return to the customer experience normalcy, right? So when we return to normal, it won't be normal anymore. No, you will have to know the customer's comfort levels with the shopping experience. Firstly, you may not see a customer in your store until the vaccine is out. And in store, shopping preferences have changed. Without a vaccine, shoppers will be less likely to try on a makeup from shared sample products or try sample food samples at stores. They might want clothes to be disinfected between try-ons or need to be reassured that such touchscreens are cleaned frequently. So in the normal, we need to address the immediate customer needs and prepare for future. So what are those? So you need to focus on care and concern. So not now more than ever, people are looking for guidance and support, and they want a resource they can trust. They can make them feel safe when everything seems uncertain. So customers choose to buy from socially responsible brands. The way organizations step up to play this role for the customers, the employees, and the broader community is likely going to leave a lasting memories in customers' minds. Again, you have to care for our employees in time of crisis. Caring for customers starts with thinking first about the employees. So many companies, what they have done, they have pledged to continue paying to the employees, and some are providing new tools, training, and support to enable employees to deliver superior customer experiences in the new environment. Again, you need to meet your customers where they are today. So customer normal patterns of life have come to a halt. Simple activities like a trip to the grocery store or dining out with the friends are now difficult, risky, or even prohibited. So customers need digital at home and low touch options. So digital led experiences will continue to grow in popularity once the coronavirus is gone. And companies that act quickly and innovate in their delivery model to help consumers navigate the pandemic safely and effectively will establish a strong advantage. For example, like fitness companies, they are deploying the strategy through extended free trials online and app-based classes. So where app downloads and new signups have grown. So it's a new model for them. Again, it's likely that many customers who have converted to digital services will stick to them after the immediate health crisis is over. So companies who make the shift to digital and deliver superior experiences have an opportunity to increase adoption and maintain this customer relationship after the crisis. So again, the new way the organization deal with the customers, the employees, and the broader community in a crisis is likely going to leave lasting memories in customers' minds. Again, there are a lot of places where physical touch was required. So in part of those customer journeys that must exist in physical channels, consider converting those to a contactless operations. Again, you have to reimagine your customer experience for a post COVID-19 world. Again, where stores reopen, the world of brick and mortar may be fundamentally different. More and more customers will have grown comfortable with digital, remote, and low touch options, even in rural and older populations. So once they're used to the new digital or the remote models, we expect some consumers to switch permanently or increase the usage, accelerating behavior shifts that were already underway before the crisis. So we expect to see the shuttering of underperforming stores. Retailers and consumer goods companies should plan now to capture this lost volume. So use mobile, online, and geo data to optimize your online sales. So companies should also re-examine the role the physical locations will play. So omni-channel fulfillment options such as buy online, pickup stores will increase. So these are some of the immediate, I would say, customer needs which you need to look into and prepare for your future. So I will pass on to Chris to understand what's happening actually in the Philippine market and how the customer changes are happening. Go to the next slide, Chris. Chris, are you there?
I'm on mute. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me now? All right. So let's bring this closer to home. Let's look at what's happening in the Philippines and what's happening to the lives of marketers and what are the decisions that are facing us. So the changes in consumer behavior in the Philippines center around 5 pillars. There was an article in Adobo magazine that captured exactly how the pandemic has altered the behavior of Filipinos as we adapt to new ways of living, working, and playing. We can see this in 5 behavioral shifts, and we see marketers, both formal and even our neighbors, adapting to how this shift happened. Number one is wellness and protection. As Ritesh mentioned, people are very concerned in a post-COVID-19 world. Consumers will start paying more attention to investing in goods and services that offer stability, safety, hygiene, and defense instead of seeking only lifestyle protection. Ligo was the first of the brands to quickly adapt this, and we saw this when they came out with their groundbreaking Facebook ads back in March. They were the first to say that their product promotes health, and they opted for transparency listing the ingredients of their product and talking about the ingredients of their product. The next one is peace of mind. Ritesh also alluded to this. Filipinos now are looking for reliability in a way to safeguard money. We don't want to waste our resources. If possible, we want to get the most value for our money. Angkas changed their business model and started delivering food. That was their way of adapting to the change. But the marketer for Angkas clearly stated na, huwag kayong mag-alala, legit ito. Legit kaming nagde-deliver ng pagkain. Hindi kami lang transportation. So they assured us that they are reliable, legal, and giving us peace of mind that our food is safe and going to be handled well. The third one is connections. We like to feel connected. How many groups have been formed and how many communities in the past 4 to 5 months have formed on Viber and Facebook that kept us in touch with old friends, with new friends, and at the same time served to give us our life essentials. Some marketers even went beyond that and connected those who care for the society and those who are in need, like Coffee Bean connected the public to frontliners at Asian Medical Hospital. The fourth is flow. We want accessibility, availability of services, and smooth transaction, which gave rise to a lot of digital wallets like GCash, PayMaya, GrabPay, and also increased the demand for delivery services in e-commerce. And lastly, we want our good experience to continue. In fact, we have been struggling to bring back the experience we had before March 15. So we still want the ultimate experience despite being cooped up at home. We want the best service, to still have fun, a way to feel good after all the uncertainty, and above all this, hassle-free transactions. That's what we want. Among these examples that I gave are known brands, but for this one, I want to cite the example of my neighbor who saw the need for balut, our traditional Filipino food, at our condo. So those who cannot eat balut cannot go out and buy these at night. So what he did to cope with the times and to have money is to deliver them to the front door. But that's a good experience for those who are looking for balut. He also enabled GCash and banking payment. Hence, the balut connoisseurs at our condo are able to enjoy balut nightly para tumibay pa yung kanilang tuhod, di ba? So, I also want to refer to for those who were here when the video was playing, that's also one example of an ultimate experience. In that video, Alexa was telling to her, shall I call it master, that the temperatures are going up and does he want to order a new aircon filter. At that moment, that person needed an aircon filter, and Alexa facilitated that that transaction and that campaign that was initiated by the marketer of the aircon provider. So that's an example of a good experience that we are looking for now that COVID is here and that COVID will soon be over. So now we know that the impact of COVID to the supply chain, to the customer journey and experience, and even customer behavior. Let's look at what it did to the marketers themselves. So being a part of the industry when COVID started, I was very fearful and was very apprehensive that marketers might lose their jobs. But contrary to that, in fact, the role of marketers have actually thrived, and our marketers are rising to the occasion. In fact, the CMO survey in June 2020, 62.3% of marketers said that their jobs has increased in importance. And of those interviewed, 62% of these marketers reported that no job losses happened in their companies. But of course, there are still some who were affected and lost their jobs. So now more than ever, marketers need to be adaptive. We need to stay relevant and drive revenue. In the same survey, marketers shared that 85% of customers are now open to digital, and 60% of them have shifted their strategies to digital. But the marketing objectives are also attainable. They don't dream of out there of reaching higher revenue, etc. Their marketing objectives is really to survive, build brand value that connects with customers, and most importantly, retain the current customers. So those two have changed the marketing role. Now let's look at some challenges. If you look at, it's a very busy slide, but let's look at the leftmost portion. And if you look at the top two challenges, it is shifting marketing priorities and budget cuts, which affects the strategy of the marketer. In the middle, you will see that it is the largest concern is budget cuts and switching to a different channel. And also, we now see that the lack of target audience engagement is coming into play. We are not able, or marketers are not able to talk to or communicate to the right target audience. And then on the left, we also see that, on the right, sorry, that the top reasons for decreasing spend is that it's a wrong time to advertise and leadership doesn't want to invest in advertising right now. So I say advertising because in the next slide, you will see that life goes on for the marketers. They still have to do their marketing. It did not stop. It's just that the field has become different as marketers move to digital. So as you can see, look at the pie chart, 67% same impact, but some campaigns were pivoted or paused. And the last challenge is content. Ritesh said needs to be concerned, needs to be emotional. So 47% has become more emotional in nature, and 31% has become more rational and pragmatic in nature. Nagsosolve na lang ng problems. And all of these, for the marketer, the challenge really with tight budgets and with time pressure to reach customers and produce results, we cannot wait, we cannot study, we have to act now, or you have to act now because life is going on and revenues have to be brought in. Marketers really need to reach the right audience at the right time that they need it, at the time that the audience need it, at the channels that they are using, and with the right message. And this is very difficult to achieve without some help. So what can marketers do to better engage customer? This is where marketing automation or a marketing automation solution can be helpful. The first thing that we see being very effective for marketers is to focus on three things: to get your data in order to make sense of your customers, to leverage insights, to push communications, and to optimize customer journeys across channels. If you remember the challenges, it was budget, it was reaching the right customer, and then the shift in strategy. The data will help you identify the strategy, the insights will help you identify the communication and the time, and the channels will identify where and how you can reach your customers. So how do we get started? First, we need to define our objective and our most urgent need. Many times we have seen situations that there is a lot of data, but the end objective is not defined. Data would come from our old databases, data would come from social, data would come from what time the audience is engaging. There's a lot of data, but without knowing how you want to use the data, it cannot be actionable. And of course, after that, we need to consolidate and clean the data and put it somewhere to make sure that it is relevant. And then after that, we need to analyze and model to determine the right audience and right communication. When we say right communication, it's beyond just channel and time propensity, but it also focuses on the content. This is the next, the fourth step is to target the segments, capture metrics, and augment the audience. Okay, it is very important to see how our audience behave, what do they open. This allows us to consistently improve the experiences of the customer. And then the fifth, continuously improve the audience profiles and derive more actionable insights. If you have successfully engaged your audience, we need to bring that data back and put them into the profile so that we get to know the customer better and engage better next time. So the first thing that we need to do is understand our ecosystem. Marketers are using different channels right now. There is a search engine, there is content marketing, there are data from the stores, there's emails, there's SMS, and there's website. We have to put all of these together along with our own databases to consolidate some profiles, arrive at the individual profile data, and use this to engage and communicate with our audience using different channels, as you can see in the middle. We can use email, SMS, mobile, social media, etc., and even sell offline in the stores and in the branches. Now, as you can see, all this data goes back, and as our interaction happens with our customer, then we are able to augment that profile that we have of that individual customer. So what we need to do is to leverage the data. As much as possible, we will be able to see beyond the demographics. We need to see how they are behaving on social, what their channel propensity, what do they like to be on SMS, do they engage on email, what time, what day of the week, so that you are able to address one of the challenges, which is to communicate to your right target audience. We also want to see what are their interests and share of life. What products have they purchased? What are their apps download, their content usage, etc. This is an example of what a user can look in any industry. It's relevant to whether you are in retail, whether you are in banking. Now, once our data is consolidated, we need to turn that into actionable data. This is one of the things that we can, an example of how that is done. If we know that our profile completeness is at 40%, then we need to use this data and to guide us in our next campaign, like launch a Facebook and Twitter campaign to collect social profile data of our customers, to get demographics, to get interests, and then next time, use this to improve our engagement. I will pause here to see if there are questions, and let's maybe have some interaction, Albert, like a poll.
Hey, to all of our audience, again, you can place your questions to our chat box or to our Q&A portion. But if in case, Chris, I just have one question here that is commonly asked by customers that we have. Like, for example, what channels do you think will play a particularly big role during and after the pandemic? Since we're actually in terms of measuring the attributes and also the type of audience that we have right now, which has shifted. So what channels do you think will play a particularly big role during and after the pandemic?
Okay, I'll let Vandana answer that.
Yeah, sure. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the question was, what channels do we think will play a big role during and after the pandemic, right? So that was the question. So like Ritesh and Chris were, talking about the presentation so far, I think the shift to digital is something which has already happened. In fact, that was a shift that had already started taking place even before the COVID kind of accelerated the adoption of digital, right? So channels, which, for example, QR codes was one channel which we didn't see so much of in the APAC region or the Asia Pacific region as compared to maybe some other markets in the world, maybe even last year or 2 years back. But today, channels like QR code are all a given, right? We use a lot of these QR codes, whether you're purchasing products or you're trying to learn more about products and so on and so forth. So I think the shift to digital is here to stay. What we've seen a huge adoption of other channels like your mobile apps and social from a point of retail and shopping and consumer experience during this COVID period. And we think that is something that will continue to live on beyond, post the COVID era as well. That is going to continue to happen. And we think what will come in additionally are some newer channels, which we also saw at the beginning of the presentation with our example of the example of the voice assistant example, which Chris also quoted. So there are certain new channels such as, you know, voice and more sophisticated chatbots, which will come into play, which will help and kind of elevate the consumer and the customer experience a lot more post the COVID area. So I would say the mind shift to leveraging digital within a brand and as a consumer is nearly complete now. It had started some time ago and it is nearly complete now. So as we see, while these channels will continue to be used heavily, newer ones like voice assistants will also get adopted more in the future.
That's a great insight that you gave there, Vandana. I really do agree that, like, right now, a lot of people are really hitting close home in terms of doing their campaigns for their brands, really having that personal touch. And
Yeah.
that also involves using AI and also digital transformation and including that in terms of their marketing plans in the future. So thank you for sharing that, Vandana. So I would no longer have any questions as of the moment. Maybe we can save that during our Q&A portion. So Chris, go ahead and you can continue.
Okay. So to continue what I have been saying, the challenge for marketers today is that, as Vandana also said, that there are a lot of channels and there are a lot of touch points. And the challenge is to decide which channel and which touch point to use, look at the customer behavior, how we will use the channel, at what point do we use a certain channel. If he doesn't respond, what do we do? Can we predict that? So I have prepared some use cases here that we can look at. Just bear with me. I have a few where marketers have taken advantage of the digital channels and a marketing automation solution to engage their customers. So my first, okay, the first use case is that the challenge for some marketers today is customer acquisition. Everybody has gone to social media to promote products, but are we even able to get some insights and some profiles from social media? One of the things that we always recommend is to leverage website to convert unknown profiles into known audiences. We have met with one of the local retailers before the pandemic, and they said that they have 100,000 visitors to the website. This is a report that comes to them from Google, but what do they do with that 100,000? So let's try to see how we can leverage website. Our entry point for our anonymous audience can be straight to a website. It could be from an SMS. It could be from a social app. Or in my example, it could even be from Food Panda if you were a restaurant asking Food Panda to deliver. But the challenge with Food Panda is they don't share with you the customer data. Therefore, you are not able to engage again. So let's look at this. Aaron finds a flyer in his Food Panda delivered Vision, that's the name of the restaurant, meal about a promo that he can avail of by scanning a QR code. Once he scans, he is brought to the website. Now, Google will tell you that there is one visitor to the website. What we do at Resultix is we try to identify who that person is so that we can engage him better, or we can engage and we target him next time. So how do we do that? In the middle is the journey of the customer, and at the bottom is what Resultix does. So as the visitor comes to the website, a unique ID is generated to track this visit of this anonymous individual. And then we have a technology called SmartLink, which traces that journey and tracks the conversion. So if he doesn't convert, we will be able to target him again and therefore not lose that customer. If he converts, then we bring him to the next portion of his journey. So he clicks on, maybe after scanning, he is brought to a promo and he clicks on a call to action with the smart link embedded. He is brought to a landing page where he reads the offer details, and then the details probably tells him to sign up for something. Now, at this point, what Resultix does is to collect other information about that person, like what time did he visit, what device type did he use, where is he located, um, how many minutes did he spend on a certain page, and all of these can give us insight into that customer. Now, once he signs up, then he becomes a converted audience. And now we know that his name is Aaron, and therefore we can communicate with him on different channels depending on the information that we collected. We are able to attribute that communication and see where he converted, at what point did he converted, and then we are also able to augment that profile for future retargeting. So this example tells us that from the website, it could be our source of customers by converting unknown to known. Another source that we can have is that we can do acquisition through referrals. Okay, let's say that we have one of the things that we said was customer retention, right? And we need to mine what we currently have. So let's say we have a customer database with a loyalty program, okay? And we want to target those that are members of that loyalty program to refer us to other friends so that we can acquire more customers. So we will have a marketing automation solution that sends an email to invite referrals and avail of a holiday promotion. Nick, who is one of the members of that loyalty program and one of the brand advocates, checks the email and forwards it to his contact list. David, one of Nick's friends, receives the invite to sign up and acquire the discount code. So once David signs up, Nick receives the code to avail of his holiday promotion. So in that example, we were able to engage Nick, make him happy with the holiday promotion, but at the same time, acquire a new customer in David. Now, all of these can be done with a marketing automation solution, so that it is the solution tracking all these steps and responding to the action of the customer instead of the individual marketer looking at who referred, emailing him and saying that, hey, Nick, thank you for emailing, thank you for referring. That is slow and tedious and will not enable real time. Another example is customer engagement through offers with channel swap. Many times, we say email does not work. And what do we do when email does not work? So we want to be able to see when it is not working and immediately address that, that failure by maybe swapping to a more preferred channel. So in this example, we have an email campaign that is triggered with a mystery gift offer details. Kevin, an existing customer, receives an email but does not open it since he is busy. He gets a reminder to avail of the offer, but he still does not notice it because of his busy schedule. As Kevin is unresponsive, Resultix will be able to detect that he has been unresponsive for a certain time, and Resultix will auto-swap the channel to maybe SMS, if that is the preference of Kevin. So Kevin, this is Kevin, now receives an SMS urging him to avail of the offer before it expires. But because Kevin always has his phone with him, he's able to read it. Kevin registers himself for the offer by filling the form. He receives an SMS informing him that he has won the surprise gift, and Kevin receives the surprise gift package delivered at his home. Engagement and at the same time giving excellent customer service. My last example is customer onboarding and retention. Okay, we want to maintain high levels of service and continuously engage our customers. So Sarah purchases a refrigerator at Vision Electronics mobile store where she provides her mobile number. She receives an SMS asking her to download the VE app and register her product. She installs the app and scans the barcode on packaging to register. The product details are populated from the barcode. She enters the date of purchase and registers. Post-registration, she receives the user manual and her registered email ID. In her registered email ID, later, Sarah receives emails with recipes and other content on using her refrigerator. She finds the material interesting and shares them with her friends on Facebook. And The VE app prompts her to rate the product. She contently rates a good rating. Good experience. We also reached other people. We also have the opportunity to upsell because with that, we're able to continuously engage with Sarah. Now, all of these are made possible by a marketing automation solution, and Resultix is one of those that enables you to have your data in one place and orchestrate your whole campaign using different channels on the same platform and still utilize the insights and analytics that it will give you. Do we have time to show this to them, Albert?
Hey, Chris, we are up to 13 minutes before 3. Would you think it will be sufficient to do a demo?
Very, very quickly, I want to show them how
Okay, lovely. Sure.
uses Resultix. So I will just shift to my Resultix solution. So very, very quickly, I'd like to show you how on a typical day that a marketer would have in using in Resultix. Resultix presents to the marketer a dashboard, and it shows to him all the campaigns that is ongoing, the ROI, what are the conversions, the leads generated, the channel performance, okay, and then audience behavior and top performing campaigns, okay. Now we have been talking about audience, and we want to see what analytics or what insights we can get from the audience. Resultix gives you all the information that you will need on your audience. In this case, I have 88.9 million. I have reached 50%. I have engaged 30%. I've converted and make them do some action 20%. And 10% has made me viral. It shows me my top 5 channels, behavior, and even those who have made me, those who are advocates. Now with this, I can have certain decisions when I make my campaign. And as I said, I have to make my campaign on the same platform using the channels that I want so that the information can go back directly to the profiles and augment them. So if you look at my campaign creation here, I will not do the campaign, but as you will see, we've said that we need to be omni-channel because our consumers are engaging in different channels. So we can engage using email, messaging, notifications. Let's say you have an app notification. QR codes, you can generate the QR codes here. My internet has failed me. Okay, let's see. Any questions for now? Okay, so this is how I create my campaign. I can do email, do all my emails here, set the schedule, and even allow Resultix to determine when is the best time to send an email. What time is my audience going to engage? I can use SMS on the same platform, send out my SMS, my WhatsApp, my Line, and Viber, all in one campaign. I can even do some mobile notification. I can create my social posts, do some Alexa campaigns for voice, do my paid ads for Google, Facebook, Twitter, and even generate a QR code to put on my offline so that I can do offline to online conversions, or even put on my social pages to bring them to a website or a landing page. Now, this is one type of communication. The other type of campaign that I can do on Resultix is to allow me to anticipate next steps and nurture. Here, I have my canvas, and it will allow me to chart the journey of my customer. So if you look at it, if you look at my canvas here, I've identified an audience which gives me 700,000. And it says here that I want to target them through email, SMS, and Facebook. Now, one of the challenges that we've identified is to engage our customer better, to make sure that they receive our communication. So we can say that Resultix can choose, depending on the data that we have, on the channel propensity, which channel is more likely to be engaged with by the customer, or we can blast to all. And here, we can say that if a person does not email, does not open his email for certain days, or maybe did not click on a call to action, then maybe we can wait for 4 days and maybe send him an SMS. That's exactly how the channel swap happens. Now, once all of this is done, then we can execute something like very intricate nurturing program, identifying where the possible conversion points are and following up on action so that we can move them further on their journey using different channels, all being helped by Resultix. Now, once we start executing those campaigns, I've shown you a dashboard, I've shown you audience analytics. We can now look at some campaign analytics. So all of these are all my running campaigns, and the details of the campaign analytics, you can see here that it will tell me my reach, my engagement, and conversion. If I have new contacts converted, if I have been able to target some unknown customers, some campaign analysis. I can even have details per channel, channels that I used in that campaign. I can even have attribution for ROI. When did they convert, on the first touch or on the last touch? And even compare my performance against previous campaigns or against companies in the industries who are faring better or who have become benchmarks in the industry, and see if my performance is good compared to them. That, in a nutshell, is how Resultix help marketers. Having the data in one place, executing on the same platform, giving the marketers the insights to be agile, to adjust, and to be better at next campaigns and next communication, enabling them to be able to be real time, do omnichannel, and be relevant during COVID or even after COVID. There, I think we have some time for questions, Albert.
Yes, indeed. So again, thank you, Ritesh, Vandana, and Chris for that intuitive presentation. Well, it was indeed packed with insights and realization how the pandemic impacted our customer engagement and what solutions for us to augment it to omni-channel marketing. And that really boosts a lot of interest right now from our audience. So I'll just read some of our questions that we got from the Q&A chat box. One of which is, what are some common mistakes brands tend to make when they try to undergo digital transformation? Vandana?
Yeah. So rather than mistakes, I think there are definitely certain factors which every brand should consider when they are undergoing digital transformation or when they're planning to undergo digital transformation, right? The first thing is one size doesn't really fit all. So it's not like you can take what another entity or a brand does and completely replicate it for yourself, right? Every brand needs to do an assessment of what really is their business, who are the customers they are targeting, who do they want to target, what their offerings are versus this ecosystem. And then they need to reimagine what the customer experience, the journey flow is today, especially given the COVID times. I think for many of us, our customer journeys have changed over the last 6 months to a year. So we need to now reimagine what that customer journey is today, and then prioritize which part of that customer journey do you want to address. Right, so there are many pieces of the customer journey, right from acquisition to nurturing, to engagement, to conversion, loyalty, retention, and so on and so forth. So based on the business and what you are doing in the market and who your customer is, there might be a certain section of this customer journey you want to address on priority. So which is this journey is the first thing we need to be clear in our thinking when we are thinking about digital transformation as a whole. Why? Because everything cannot be done at once, right? Just like one size doesn't fit all, it can't all be done at once. So there is this is a process, and there are definitely some short-term gains you can get immediately, like the low-lying fruits, and there are some long-term benefits you should plan to with respect to digital transformation. So you need a clear vision on what are the channels you want to adopt, how do you want to adopt them, what is a roadmap you want to adopt them along, how do you want to leverage them and then grow beyond them. So that's the second part. And the third part is transformation itself means change, right? So as part of this process, you expect change, and therefore you need to be prepared for some internal realignment to happen as well. So we need to also prepare the organization and the entities in the ecosystem within to adapt to this change. So it's important to have the right people, and more important to have the right mindset, which can drive and manage and make these changes happen for you.
That's a great take on that question, Vandana. I also have another question here coming from Chris, one of our audience. Does Resultix also have a way of sending these campaigns depending on which channels and what time a user is most engaged with? Like an intelligent delivery and intelligent channel. Like for example, a user A is more actively engaged in push notifications after 6 p.m., while user B engages actively in emails at around 8 a.m.
Yeah, so this is definitely one of the what do you say, key USPs of a platform such as Resultix. So all of those things mentioned go under the bucket of channel propensities, time propensities, and in fact, maybe Chris can quickly also switch back to the screen to show how you can actually set the send time optimization. And also, she was just showing us the canvas on which she set the design of the customer journey, and she can quickly show us, point us to where you can actually turn on those options so that it does that delivery intelligently. Chris, over to you. Maybe you can just show them those specific portions where it happens.
So here, when I set up my, let's say, an email that I will be sending, I can put the schedule, or I can use the send time recommendation. It uses the time propensity. Okay. Now, in the canvas, I have shown you that I can blast to all channels, or I can ask Resultix to choose the channel propensity. This is available for all channels that can be enabled by channel and time propensity. Okay, and to that question also, as you can see, we can do all the channels that we have mentioned on the same platform, and even do the communication simultaneously.
That's great. Hopefully that answered your question, Chris. As you see in terms of the Resultix platform, indeed, we also count on their behavior digitally. And that is because Resultix has a smart link, which actively track all of the customer engagement from different channels. Also, we do have another question here. Are there any key technology or security issues we need to be aware of now that there's greater reliance on digital?
Yeah,
Vandana?
so hi. So so the great thing about digital versus what used to be in the older days is all about the fact that you can do the end-to-end measurement. So the biggest thing about digital is the fact that you can do attribution. You can actually track your conversion right from the first click to the conversion, right? But of course, the flip side to it is, yes, there are definitely certain areas which you need to pay more attention to, or take some mitigate risks, for example, because it is all trackable. Um, so, but the good news is that technology has grown along with digital, right? So today we have available very strong security frameworks, certifications, audit methodologies, which ensure that you are protected at various levels, whether it is application security, network security, infrastructure security, or data security. Now, more specifically, when you come to consumer kind of transaction, data privacy, data security takes the headline news, as we've been seeing all over, right? Across various industries and markets as well. Consumers' data security is paramount. So yes, there are certain key issues we do need to pay attention to with respect to data, whether it's also the brand's own data as well as the consumer's data. So this must be top of mind for every brand when they're taking on any digital initiatives. So enough and more measures should be taken to protect this. And on top of that, in certain industries like banking or healthcare, there are added, industry regulations which we should also comply to. And as a regional brand, you might be actually working across borders, in which case you do need to take care of data residency, as we call it, where should the data reside, and also geofencing, which market or where do you store the data. So these are various issues which you should keep in mind depending on the structure and nature or model of your business. But like I said, there are a lot of frameworks available. There are a lot of technologies available, tools available, which help you along the way with each of these different parts of security, and we should adopt them. We should adapt them as we